We had a wonderful time. I'm going to try to do this without making too much noise. Wonderful time at camp. And so I just have a couple of questions for our kids and our youth to answer as they talk about the theme and about what we learned and what we experienced, just to give you a bit of a glimpse of what camp is like. It is exhausting, it is long days, but it is also incredible time for us to grow closer as a group, as either children's ministry or youth ministry, but also in our relationship to God. And I am super proud of these campers and all the ways that they grew while they were at camp and the ways that they are leading today. So we're going to start with Lily. I'm going to let you hold that. At camp, we talked a lot about wide open spaces. For some of the adults in the room, when they hear that, they think of a Dixie Chicks song, but that is not what our theme of camp was. So tell us what wide open spaces means to you, and how did you experience that during camp?
Wide open spaces to me means places of welcoming others to love God's love. For example, there was this girl, I met her in my Bible study. She was really nice to me. She led me around, told me the best snow cone flavors. She told me where places are and where the best places are. So yeah, she was really nice, and I saw God through her.
Wonderful, thank you. Also at camp, every year there is a special mission focus, and so we learned about a field personnel couple during the course of the week. We did different prayer experiences for them. For kids, they did some cool ways to engage with the culture of the country that these folks live in. And so Lewis is going to talk a little bit about who we learned about at camp and how we learned about them. So who do we learn about, Lewis?
Laura and Carson Fushi.
Laura and Carson, and where do they live?
Kanazawa, Japan.
They live in Kanazawa, Japan. Have you met them in real life before?
Yes.
Yeah. So Lewis and the Moser family were an encourager church for the Fushis when they lived in St. Simon's. And so when our first night in devotions, when we had learned who our field personnel were for the week, Lewis was like, I know them, I know what they do, I've met them before. And so it was kind of a neat connection. Tell the grown-ups in the room who didn't go to camp, what are some of the ways that you learned about the work that Laura and Carson do?
We learned about Kanazawa, Japan at something at camp called the night market.
Okay, what's the night market?
It's a place where you feel like you're actually in Kanazawa, Japan, and you learn about the culture there.
Yeah, so we did have different stations. What was your favorite station that you liked the most?
When you learn how to use chopsticks.
When we learned how to use chopsticks. How many of you know how to use chopsticks well? Okay, so look at you, Lewis. You learned something that some of the grown-ups in the room didn't know as well. So we loved learning about the work of Carson and Laura. They practice radical hospitality in their town in Kanazawa and try to provide as many spaces for welcome as they can, and so it tied in very nicely with our theme. Youth camp is a little bit different. In the afternoons after Bible study, youth go out on mission sites, and so our youth were divided into 5 different Bible study groups and spent 2.5 or 3 hours every afternoon on a mission site. And so they're going to talk a little bit about what they did and how that may relate to our theme of wide open spaces. So y'all are going to have to come down this way a little bit just because the cord won't reach.
So I didn't have a very labor-focused mission site. I went to a retirement home close to EMU called VMRC. It's this massive retirement home where they have dependent, assisted, and independent care. And it's cool because they have a gym, store, cafe, everything all the residents would need on campus. So they didn't have to go anywhere. We kind of just hung out with the assisted independent living residents. So the first day we took them on a nature walk through the forest. The second day we played Uno and games with them. And the third day we did an ice cream social with them so that they could socialize. And it was really cool to see how such small, not hard things could make such a big impact on people, and how easy it was to make them smile just knowing that someone was there and happy to see them. So that's what I brought back from my mission site.
So I went to a refugee kind of help center called Village to Village, and they have a bunch of stuff that for refugee families who can't like afford it in general, so it's a lot cheaper, and it's like home necessities like pillows, curtain rods, like dishes and clothes. And on the second and third day we were there, they had an all-free yard sale where they had a bunch of stuff out there and everything was free. And multiple families came in, and almost every family left with over 50 items. So they helped a lot of families get what they needed, and they didn't have to pay anything, just had to give about an hour to 30 minutes of their time. So I really enjoyed seeing who we were helping and how it affected them.
For our mission site, we went to Jubilee Climate Farm, which is a farm that they make space for immigrants to come and farm in their own land, and different cultures have different kind of farming that they do and stuff like that.
So for my mission site, I went to this place called the Ark, where people with disabilities and mental disabilities, and it was like really fun to meet them. There was this girl named Katie. She was blind, and she would know your voice, like, oh, this is her, and she, would ask you when your birthday was, and then she would like sing happy birthday to you. So that was really sweet of her to do that. We made friendship bracelets with them. We played water balloons. Kate didn't want to get wet, so but I got wet because I wanted to have fun with it. So it was just really fun for them to actually get to know us and like spend the whole week together with them.
Caroline, Micah, and I went to 3 different mission sites. The first one was a dairy farm, and we got to see like how it all works. And then we went to a food pantry and like packaged food and just helped put stuff away. And then we went to eat lunch with veterans, and it was fun to see how God's love and He puts you to work.
That's good. Thank you. So all of our campers at youth camp worked hard in the afternoons. A lot of the mission sites this year were relationship-based. So you heard Lacey and Kristen and Braylon talk about how they went to places with individuals who are often overlooked in our society, senior adults or those who may have differently abled bodies or disabilities. And so it was great to hear them come back from their time on mission sites in the afternoon, just talking about the joy that they experienced when they were playing in games or having a water balloon fight or doing a car wash. And we had a couple of campers who were on more manual labor sites, as you heard. Braylon's group did do a dairy farm and then worked at a food pantry on one day, and then Charlotte and Harper and I were at a farm. And so all of these were opportunities for us to experience God working in the world, whether through relationships or through creation. But no matter where we were meeting the needs of people. Day 3, what day is Day to Act? Day 2. Day 2 is a day to act, and we talked about putting our faith into action. And so we were able to do that every day on our mission sites, and it was wonderful to hear that. Our last question, Ella is going to answer, and then if anyone else wants to, is just about, we talk a lot at camp about, we're at camp, it's really easy to go all in on God and Jesus and like your faith and helping others and all of that when you're removed from the busyness of the world. And so when we come back home, how do we continue to create wide open spaces and to live out the things that we have learned at camp, especially with school starting soon? So, Ella, how are you going to do that this year? And if any of the rest of you want to answer that question as well, you can.
You can invite somebody to sit with you if they're new, or you can ask them if they want to be your friend, and you could just play with them and make them not feel left out.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add? Some of our older youth are going to share that during. Is this something different than what you say? Okay.
Just like talking and like just giving a compliment to somebody, it'll make their day.
That's great. Thank you all. You all can go have a seat. We're also going to hear from some of our youth who are going to talk specifically about each day of camp and the different themes. So the first day of camp was a space to welcome, and you all can come up now. Day 1 of youth camp was a space to wonder. Day 2 was a space to act, and day 3 is a space to dance. And so they're going to talk a little more in depth about each of those themes and what they learned from that day.
So I will be talking about opening day, which is like when we first get there. Opening day is always the most exciting. It's probably one of my favorite days, but then again, all of them are my favorite days. We all met up in the church parking lot and tried to shove all of our luggage into the cars. Then we all prayed and said goodbye to our family and headed off to Buc-ee's. I have never gone to Buc-ee's before this, and I was really excited. I've heard lots of good things, and everyone always said it was the place to be. So we got there, and it was definitely huge. Once you got in, it literally doubled in size. I'm not even joking. It was so chaotic. Then we all got some random goodies, and Pastor Kristen got 1,000,000 types of beef jerky. Of course, then it decided to start raining, so we all ran to the big Buc-ee statue, took a quick picture, and ran to the cars. But then it was time to go to EMU, which was the place we would be staying for the week, and it was only a few minutes away. Once we got there, I realized how much I truly missed it. Seeing all the people loading huge bags out of their cars and seeing friends from last year. Seeing all the passport leaders excited to see old faces and new faces. It took us a minute to figure out where we were because we weren't in the same dorms as last time, which at first was a big bummer, but by the end of the trip, I began to love our dorms. Then we got out of the cars, and I had to lug my huge suitcase up to the 3rd floor, which was definitely a struggle. Thank God for elevators. We all got our room keys and settled in for a little bit. Pastor Justin and Micah hadn't gotten their dorms yet, so they were just chilling in the hallway while we goofed around, which is also how I got my nickname Mouthwash. And no, my mouth didn't stink, hopefully. I had accidentally put my toothbrush in a bag we didn't bring, but thankfully another pastor in our hall had an extra disposable toothbrush, so it was all good. After we got settled in, we went to the dinner, and of course, it was still raining. I mean, we live in Virginia, which we actually didn't have to because we ended up finding out that our dorms were just levels above it. Then we sat down and ate, which was really eye-opening for me because it finally felt like a breath of fresh air. Everyone was eating and laughing, saying hi to old friends, and saying hi to new ones. I sat down at dinner happy because I had my Dr. Pepper next to me. After we had all finished dinner, we headed to opening celebration. Once everybody had gotten in there, I was on the verge of tears because I had finally felt at home. I could feel God's presence in me and in the air, seeing all the smiles on the staff's faces, on the pastor's faces, and all the campers' faces, which is something I'll probably never forget. During opening celebration, we sung a bunch of songs and basically just talked about what the week would be about and the messages being sent through our work. During opening celebration, it truly felt like something was being lifted off my shoulders. I felt lighter and I felt freer. It really felt like I was floating. After opening celebration, we found out who our Bible study leaders would be and met with the people that would be in our Bible study for the week. During the introduction, we did some icebreakers and a little get-to-know-me stuff, which of course is always awkward, even if you're at camp. After about an hour of that, we all came back to our dorms, and as a church, we talked about our day. During that, we just talked about how we felt and how we thought our week would go. By the end of that, I was totally exhausted and ready to peace out for a night. About 30 minutes later, I was out cold and probably dreaming about the next day to come. So I guess the takeaway from opening night was that it just reminded me of how much I love church camp and how much it means to me, and it will always mean something to me because it truly just feels like taking a break from the world and living in a small little world filled with a bunch of Christians having a bunch of fun and laughing their butts off. So if you ever thought of going to camp or a camp, I would tell you to totally go because it's something that's not like anything else, which is what makes it truly special.
Day 1. Every day of Passport has a theme. The theme for day 1 was a space to wonder. In our Bible studies, we focused on this theme plus the idea of doubt and how it is okay to doubt and ask questions in your faith. To me, being able to ask questions means you are growing in your faith and are comfortable with the idea of not knowing. Our Bible story came from the book of Jonah. The very first chapter in the book of Jonah is called Jonah Tries to Run Away from God. In my opinion, he does this because of doubt. The story goes on, and eventually Jonah finds himself in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. While he was in the belly of the fish, he was on the brink of death, and he finds God again through prayer. This shows us, even when we have our doubts or find ourselves doubting God, we will always come back to him, and he will never leave us during those times. Every day, towards the end of Bible study, we did something called a declaration. The prompts for these vary every day, depending on the theme, of course. Our declaration for day 1 started with, "I am okay with questions about faith because," and you had to finish the line. I finished my declaration with, "It means I am growing." Having questions is something we can never escape, and that is okay. Questioning means we are learning. I think questions and doubt are combined. Like peanut butter and jelly, you cannot have one without the other. Doubting can cause you to ask questions because you are curious. My Bible study leader said the phrase, "It is okay to not know the answers." I like this phrase because no one knows all the answers and no one ever will. Everyone has doubts, and that is perfectly okay to accept. The same way as every day had a theme, every day also had a different Bible verse to pair with that theme. The verse for day 1 came from the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 119, verse 45 says, "And I'll stride freely through wide open spaces as I look for your truth and your wisdom." I think this verse pairs very well with the theme for day 1 because as we ask questions, we are looking for God's truth as our answers, and he uses his wisdom to guide us to those answers we are looking for. My favorite part about day 1 was worship. We sang beautiful songs that I was really able to connect with. The sermon really focused on questions more so than doubt. What I really liked the most during worship was a video that they showed us. The video was about the question, what does God see us as? Digging deeper into this question, even more questions can arise. Is he happy by what he sees? Does he see our best moments or our worst? When he thinks of our name, does he see us as our child selves or who we are now? Does he think of us standing beside him in heaven or where we are on earth? These questions spark so many more questions and leave us very curious. Our questions we have throughout life change as we grow. Looking back at the Bible story, the preacher for that night talked about Jonah and his doubts. She said, Jonah is at his lowest, and there is no one else for him to turn to. He finds God and turns to him. In our fears and our doubts, and when life is messy, God is able to calm our storms and create wide open spaces for each and every one of us. By asking questions, we tell God we are ready for a relationship with him, and he creates in us a space to wonder.
Okay, mine's shorter, but you can ask my parents. I put a lot of thought into it. Okay. Today I'm talking about day 2 of Passport, where the theme was a space to act. Out of all the themes, this one resonated with me the most. Although going to church and Bible study is great, going out into the community and seeing how God's love affects people is really unmatched. I went to a retirement home with my Bible study on day 2, and we played games with the residents. The simple act of playing board games with the residents and seeing the joy that it brought to them was really eye-opening to me. Just little things like this, spending time with people, seeing the smiles on their faces, makes me realize how much of an impact we can have on our community. The verse that went along with our theme on day 2 was 1 John 3:18. It says, "Little children, let's not love with words or speech, but with action and truth." The more I thought about this verse, the more it meant to me. I believe it's so much more important to show God's love through what we do versus what we say. Faith isn't just about praying in words, it's about your action and how you show God's love. I think this connects well with First Baptist's motto, do, love, walk. I was proud not only to live out that motto on day 2, but the entire week at camp as well.
The theme for day 3 was a space to dance. In Bible study, we learned about dancing in God's love and how you can invite others to dance in God's love as well. The Bible study and Bible verse illustrated this theme. The Bible story was about the prodigal son and how the father, when his son came home, had a party dancing in God's love. We focused on the father's point of view, examining how the father felt throughout the story, which I thought was very interesting. I thought about how the father's unending love for his son is like God for us. When we come back to him, God celebrates our return. The Bible verse is from Ecclesiastes 3:4, says, There's a reason for everything, a time for crying and a time for laughing, a time for mourning and a time for dancing. In devotion, we talked about this verse, thinking about how when you are crying, God is crying with you. And when you are celebrating and dancing in his love, he is dancing with you too.
Thank you, ladies. I hope over the next few weeks, as you run into our children and youth in the hallways, ask them how camp was and what their favorite part was. A great icebreaker is to ask them what their camp-assigned nickname was, because everyone gets a nickname at camp, and usually there's an embarrassing story that goes along with it, or just a funny story. So that's an easy way for you to open the door to a conversation with them if you would like to ask more about them. You all can go have a seat.